Thank you for joining us today. We are very happy to have you amongst us. Registrations are pouring in. It's continuing to pour in, and that's good news. So we might as well get started with the event. Well, welcome to today's event, our session on Transformation Cloud Services. Now, today's organizations are driving complete transformation of businesses by inventing new ways to leverage the full power of the cloud. How are they trying to do this? They are not only trying to develop their core competencies, but then they are trying to achieve agility and customer experience through the full power of the cloud. The holy grail today is no longer the cloud, it's a transformation cloud. So what does this mean? This means that building a transformation cloud accelerates the organization's digital transformation. That's the core objective, and that's what we aim to discover today. How to do it? We are going to share strategies, best practices, what are the challenges and hiccups that organizations might encounter on the way, and what have been ways in which organizations have been able to overcome these hurdles and accelerate their cloud transformation journey. Well, with that, let's get started. To start with, we've got a quick session, and for that, I would want to invite on stage Mr. Theva Senapati Subramaniam. Now, Theva, as he likes to be called and is well known in the IT circles, serves as the head of alliances at APAC and India for the Google business unit at Persistent Systems. He is a senior manager at Google business unit at Persistent Systems, that's his designation, and he likes to be called as the Google advocate for Persistent Systems in India. With that, Theva, let me welcome you on stage. Thanks so much for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Namaskara. Warm welcome to all of you. My name is Deva. I'm from Persistent. Today's theme is about transformation cloud. So Google offers its customers 4 pillars of cloud called infra cloud, data cloud, collaborative cloud, and secure cloud. So these 4 clouds form the pillar of the transformation cloud. So today the agenda is we're going to talk about is how do we help customers to accelerate the digital transformation journey. Every IT leader, as we are in this room, our most important priority is to adopt cloud, right? To reimagine the business, to better reach out to our customers, to improve the business processes within our organization. These are the key priorities by which the IT leaders are looking at public cloud today. Google Cloud is one of the leading public cloud hyperscalers, and we would see how they would help us to accelerate this digital transformation journey. When we spoke to customers, right, when we reached out to our customers, what we want to understand from them is first, when they look at the challenges of the cloud initiatives within the organization, first is optimizing cloud cost. So today, when we move from a CapEx to an OpEx model, there's a lot of cloud revenue leakage, right? You need to right-size the VMs. There could be idle VMs which you spun up during your POCs or during a pilot which you have not switched off, right? There could be unattached storages which you have not switched off, right? These could all lead to revenue leakages, and there could be a big cost spiral which could lead to costs getting higher. So there's a practice called FinOps, which Persistent provides to its customers, helping them to optimize their cloud cost, right? So all these inefficiencies will be reduced and helps customers to optimize their cloud cost. The second big initiatives which we are seeing within the organization is migrating all their workloads to cloud. There are so many workloads on-prem, right? So the priority now for the CTO or the digital leader within the organization is to move these on-prem workloads to cloud. Because within cloud, you get a lot of benefits. Like you want to do machine learning at scale. It's not possible with your data warehouse on-prem. You need to look at a public cloud hyperscaler to get all the benefits which are cloud. So that's the second big initiative, migrating the workloads to cloud. Third is moving to SaaS model. Right? Today, all our line of business applications, be it a ERP, a CRM, supply chain, whatever kind of products you have, all these line of business applications have to be a SaaS model, pay-as-you-go subscription, right? That's how the CTOs of the organization look at the software. So these are the top initiatives that come to the mind of our customers. Then we asked another question which we checked with our customers. What are the kind of challenges, right? What are the kind of challenges the organization face? The biggest, the topmost priority that is in the mind share of all the leaders is security, right? Today we know every day, day to day, we see data breaches, fraudulent activities, the personal identity of customers getting theft. So these are all kind of challenges that us, as a CTO, an organization faces, right? As a business operations, we need the customer data, but it's also the responsibility of the organization to take care of it so that the trust and the relationship with the customer is retained. So security is a very big mind share with the CTOs of the organization. The next big challenges which organization faces is in a cloud skill set, right? So you need to recruit, retain, reskill the talent because today the technology is changing fast. Every day there's a new SDK, new platform being launched, and then having the cloud skill set within the organization is very difficult. Obviously, when you go to an SI and you ask for resources, the billing charges are high. So people would still love to have an inbuilt resource capability. So lack of resources was the next challenge we found out. Third was managing the cloud spend. Today, most of the organizations are adopting multi-cloud. You may be having 3 or 4 public clouds which you are using. Do you have a common dashboard to look at the cost? Do you know project-wise, how do I track the cost? Network, compute, storage-wise, workload-wise, how do I track my cost? Which projects are overloaded? We don't have a single dashboard to look at it. So that's another big challenges with the CTOs are facing. So this was our understanding from customers. The next big topic when we went to the customers was everyone was adopting multi-cloud. Nobody was willing to put all their eggs in one basket. Why multi-cloud? They wanted to de-risk the operation, right? They want to de-risk the operation and also get the best of breed, right? Today, a particular cloud may be good on infra, another cloud could be good on data. So they want the best of breed approach. Take the best from each of the cloud vendors and create a safety net for your organization. Also have your DR on a different cloud. So if the DC goes down, your DR public cloud vendor is available. So you have safety of service. Cost arbitration, right? You could negotiate better when you're using multi-cloud vendors. You have a better negotiation of contracts, long-term contracts with your vendors. So these were some of the primary reasons, along with data, right? You have data on multi-cloud. You have a lot of data integration technologies today. You have ETL tools. You have multiple approaches. Even though your data is on-prem or could be on multiple clouds, you have enough tools and technologies, so architectures can be drawn up to help you to access data from multi-cloud. So these were the 3 top priorities we came to understand when we spoke to customers. After understanding the initiative, the challenges, right, and we know customers want to accelerate their digital transformation journey, what should the customer do? So we summarized it into 5 critical areas what the customer need to do to accelerate the digital transformation journey. First is intelligence. What do we mean by intelligence? Intelligence is the data, right? It's the data about your customers, right? Everything is available within the organization. How do you understand this data intelligently to improve your services to your customer, better reach them and better serve them? So the first important aspect was intelligence. Second came the freedom, right? Freedom of having an open cloud, right? Do you have the best technology infrastructure to build your application without getting locked into proprietary models? So you need an open cloud, you need the freedom, right? You don't want to get locked into a vendor. Second comes connections. What do we mean by connections? Right? The employee needs to collaborate within the organization to create the innovation, right? Today, every single employee cannot work in isolation. Today, the whole world is about collaborating together as a team, to able to deliver. So you need to have a collaborative cloud within the organization to help you. Of course, the top priority is protection. How do we protect the data of our customers, our employee information? All this has to be in a secure cloud. Only then you are able to trust your public cloud vendor. And having all these 4, you need it on a sustainable platform. So people today are going green, right? And people are very conscious about the carbon footprints. So they are looking at adopting a cloud which also safeguards the environment. So to accelerate the digital transformation of the customers, these are the 5 priorities which we learned after talking to them. In today's session, we will take 3 important topics to cover. One is the intelligence, other is the freedom, and third is the protection. We will just see little more, we will drill down and deep dive into these points. So the first thing is, are we good as a Google Cloud vendor? Are we good at understanding data, right? So what Google calls it in their parlance is called data cloud. So what is Google's data cloud? How does it understand data? Today you have structured data, you have unstructured data. Data can be in many formats. So you need a unified solution to process the data, whether it is an operational database or it's an analytical database, you need to have a unified solution. So Google provides relational database like Cloud SQL, Cloud Spanner. If you want NoSQL databases, you have Cloud Data Store, Cloud Big Store. You want managed database, you have MongoDB, PostgreSQL for AlloyDB, right? You want document database, you have Firebase. So Google provides the entire gamut of database to help you to process your data, be it in whichever format. That's one important aspect. Second is speed. Today, everybody needs, the data may be in petabyte or, bulk volumes, but you need the speed to access the data. So Cloud Spanner, which is a product, RDBMS product of Google, can process 1 billion queries in 1 second. That's the kind of speed Google Cloud product brings into the market. Third important aspect is open standards. Google formed a data cloud alliance with 17 vendors, right? Google formed this alliance with people like Fivtran, right, Databricks, Confluent, Redis, all 17 vendors came together to create what is called a data cloud alliance. And the major aspect of this is data is open. It is available to the customer in any form across any on-prem or cloud format it is, so that they can process the data. So Google also helps in opening the data to the customers. Obviously, you have your data warehouse. The next important aspect is built-in industry-leading AI machine learning. So there is a product called Vertex AI, which is available from the Google Cloud Platform, which is much faster and can train models 5x faster and helps the team to create, train, and deploy the model in a very quick time. So Google has an end-to-end solution, right from databases to the data warehouse, plus the AI ML capability to help customers to take advantage of data. So that is the intelligence. So that's the intelligence part. So obviously, the next question would be proof of the pudding is in eating. So who are the industry leaders using data cloud? So we will take one case study here. These are some of the customers with whom we implemented and created a success story: SmartShift, Maxim, Genomics, and Pizza Hut. We will take one of the case study from here to see. Apart from this, Google has implemented in BharatPay and Flipkart, two big startups which everybody knows. So BharatPay processes about 80 TB of data for digital transactions, UPI transactions, plus the fraud detection, etc. 80 TB of data. Flipkart runs a billion-day program, right? Billion-day sale on data cloud, which is about, I think, 12 TB of data it runs on. So that's the kind of scale we are looking at. So let's take one success story, which is SmartShift. This is a company which was launched by Mahindra. I think now Porter is taken over this. So here the major business challenge was they were having huge user base who were looking for cargo transportation, and they did not have an application, right, a software application to able to manage the load and the number of users which the user base was building up. So they looked at Persistent and Google Cloud to see how they could build a software platform to help to digitize the cargo transportation process, right? So you are a vendor, you're looking for cargo, you can go onto a website and immediately search for a vehicle. It will tell you the distance between the location where you need to transfer to, the entire work in a click of a button. So you need to create a platform for that. So they reached out to us and Google Cloud, and we created a complete platform using Google Maps API and App Engine and Firebase. So mobile web development app, we were able to create the entire platform. The data was stored in Cloud Data Store, and it was stored in a BigQuery. The data store is basically for storing all the object like driver information, etc. needs to be stored on it. We stored it in data store, and we used Cloud Bigtable for storing the transactions. And all this information was taken to BigQuery, where the data warehouse was formed on cloud. So the end result, we built a complete app within 4 to 5 months. So we were able to launch or take the GTM within 4 to 5 months for the customer. And within 3 minutes, any of you can go book a cargo. Today, this application is live. To book a cargo vehicle, it takes 3 minutes for you to book it. So this is the scale and capability of Google Cloud when you look at from a data perspective, right? So next important point, we saw intelligence. Now we are going to see how we are going to, is it only data? Does it have infra? Is it capable of hosting your application platform? That's the next part we need to look at. Now Google Cloud has 35 regions, right? 106 zones, 172 network edges, 22 subsea marine cables laid, and is serving over 200 countries, customers in over 200 countries. That is the scale of Google infra capability, right? So what is the most important thing that you want to know as an infrastructure when you're going to adopt Google Cloud for your infrastructure, right? First is it capable of serving all your workloads? Today, as an organization, you may have VMware workloads, you may have SAP workloads, you may have legacy Unix application, could be any workload. Is it compatible and portable on Google Cloud is the first question. Yes, it is. So it is having easy cloud and modernization capabilities. So that's the first priority. Second is, does it have AI/ML capabilities? As it is being said, by 2025, all your infrastructure architecture, optimized workloads, everything will be automated by AI/ML, right? You don't need to create the solution architecture. AI/ML will do the process for you, and that is where Google Cloud is moving towards. I'm sure all of you would have heard of TPU, Tensor Processing Unit. It is one of the supercomputer for AI/ML modeling. Customers can create models 5x faster on TPU. That is where Google is traveling towards. Then Open Planet, that's what I said. We are serving customers in over 200 countries with 35 zones and 35 regions and 100 plus zones. That is the scale of Google Cloud to serve the customers. Now in Infra Cloud, what are our case studies and customer success? These were the customers to whom we implemented Infra Cloud. We will take one case study. Purple is a popular brand. We will see how they utilized Google Cloud to scale their business. So everybody knows they are into fashion business. They are e-commerce portal. They serve about 4 million users on a monthly basis. They have so many users who use their sites for cosmetics, fashion, etc. The biggest challenge was, the challenge that they were facing was the conversion rates were low because they had a huge inventory to handle. And when customers went on the customer experience while selecting the products, going through the inventories, the drop rates were high. It did not convert to a sale. So they wanted to look at personalization. How do we personalize the customer experience so that the conversion rate could expand? So what we did, we created a complete Cloud AI, Auto ML, vision-based personalization tool, right? So we created the personalization tool, and we then stored it within Cloud Bigtable so that people could get the responses very fast. Within milliseconds, the personalization would reach out to the customer. So basis this, what we did, we were able to show a 25% increase in conversion rate. So just by adopting Cloud Vision API, AutoML, and creating personalization models, and then storing it in BQ data warehouse, and ensuring this personalization quickly goes out, right? When the customer clicks a button, it goes out to them. For the products which they are searching, we were able to increase the closure rates. So there's a 25% increase in business sale by adopting Google Cloud. So this was the customer with whom we had implemented. Now we spoke about two important aspects, data and infra. The third most important, is it secure? Good, you have a data cloud, good, you have an infra cloud, but can I trust my business to put it on your cloud? Because if there is no security, then there is a big challenge. So Google has a model called shared fate model. So they have the skin in their game, and they work with you in setting up the entire security process when you're going on Google Cloud. So some of the major products which they use, right? Chronicle. Chronicle is a very important security tool which Google has, which enables you, the SecOps team, the security ops team in your organization, to get alerts on the performance of your server infrastructure. Google recently, if you see the news, $5 billion of merger they had with Mandiant. They took over a company called Mandiant, which is into web digital. All your digital web assets would be protected by, if you look at Mandiant as a product, if there are web attacks, ransomware attacks. Then third is they have a zero trust model. So beyond corp model, zero trust model for your edge devices. So which prevents your user data from getting, from your laptops or from edge device to get hacked. So they have a zero trust model, right? So these are reCAPTCHA. reCAPTCHA is another tool for protecting a website, fraudulent attacks, right? Protect your digital assets, so reCAPTCHA. So with all these product lines like Chronicle, Mandiant, Beyond Core, reCAPTCHA, Google ensures your data and your customers' data, not only your data, your customers' data is also safe. So that is what they mean by trusted cloud. So why they call the security a trusted cloud is you can trust putting your data out there in the cloud. Now again, proof of the pudding is in eating. We have served these customers, NSE, eShopBox, MoMagic, ID5, where we've implemented the trusted cloud to the customers. We will take one case study in that. So NSE, right? Everybody knows NSE. The big challenge was they were huge trading data, right? This trade data was, they give it to the researchers, the academicians, and everybody to research on the data to come out with various field reports. So this major challenge they faced was, one was to give the data to the users, and next it should be secure. So how this was a challenge which we were forced to solve. And how did we go about solving it? We created a data warehouse. It was called a data room. So the NSE called it NSE data room in the cloud, and we created it through BigQuery. We created a complete complete asset of the data. I think the data was growing at 1 petabyte a day, 1 terabyte a day, right? It was growing at 1 terabyte a day. The kind of data we were looking at, which was, we put it in BigQuery, and we formed this cloud data warehouse, and now users were securely able to access this data at a click of a button. So that is the scale. Just imagine a data going at 1 terabyte per day. You're going to add that to NSE data, which is secure data, is on cloud for people to access it. That is the kind of trust you could see. Right, so we saw the 3 types of cloud. Now, the most important question is, what are the partners you need to look at to accelerate, right? Now you decided you want to accelerate your digital transformation journey within your organization, but who are the partners to look at? Why should you look at Google Cloud, right? There are enough public cloud vendors in the market. Why Google Cloud? The most important reason is Google brings the Google innovation, right? Today, your YouTube, Gmail, shared drive, whatever Google is using, the same cloud is being given to the customers to use. So whatever Google is using internally, it is the same cloud which you are using or you are utilizing for your day-to-day business. So that is the biggest advantage you get as a customer. Build fast. So it's very open cloud, as we said, right? You can build fast. Any go-to-market is very fast with your product. So if you have a GTM and you want to launch your product, within 1 or 2 months, you have you can launch on Google Cloud. Why we say so open cloud? You obviously know Kubernetes, TensorFlow, Go, Node.js, all of these are open architecture-based products of Google, right? GitHub. So Google has been always an open cloud advocate of product model, and so this will help you to adopt any of these platforms they have to build your applications faster. The third biggest advantage with Google is they have created AI models. They've created industry-specific AI models. So if you're in the FSI industry, if you're in telecom, if you're in healthcare, if you're in media, whatever, public sector, education, name your business, which sector you believe, they already have a ready-made data set and a ready-made AI model, a prediction to help you to build your business, so which is not available with other public cloud vendors. So this is the differentiating factor why you should look at Google Cloud. Right. Now coming to the final section of the presentation is, now that you have identified a public cloud vendor, you still need a SI or an implementation partner to be a partner to your IT team. Right? It is not possible for the organization to drive themselves. They need a partner to help them to be part of their IT team during the digital transformation journey to help them to deploy cloud successfully within the organization. So that's where Persistent steps in, and we are a Google advocate within Persistent. Right? We have about 1,000 strong resources on Google Cloud, right? And we completely have domain knowledge, technical expertise, engineering expertise, to help customers on their digital transformation journey on Google Cloud. We also are one of the first managed service partner for Google. So managed service partner means we are audited and certified by Google to provide support to customers post-implementation. So we have a separate support team, post-implementation support team, to help you after the production. It's not that we implement or we then walk away. We have a complete NOC setup, right? And we have a remote support, on-site support, various support models to help customers to continue with lights on support after the implementation journey. We are also certified. We have, on all the key cloud workloads and workloads of Google Cloud, like Google Maps, Google Workspace, and all the 3 pillars. Right, that's one of our major strengths, and we have experience across verticals, be it HCLS, be it financial sector or digital native. We have verticalized experience of implementing to customers. So this is basically the DNA of Persistent Google Cloud Unit. So with this, I like to conclude the keynote presentation. I hope we were able to convey to you about trusted cloud of Google and how Persistent could partner with you and help you in your journey for digital transformation. Thank you so much. I wish you have a great evening today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Theva. Great points brought up there. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for the presentation. I'm sure we enjoyed it. I'm sure you've got a lot of questions out here, and we are going to put all of that into perspective. How all of this actually, plays out in an organization, and how the challenges unfold and how they tackled. And we are going to have a presentation, we are going to have a panel discussion for you right now. So do feel free to, table your questions right now and then have them addressed as and when, we carry on with the panel. So give us a moment while we get this all set up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, time to, get started with the session that we have all been waiting for. So today's panel discussion is going to be talking about the transformation cloud, and like we discussed, how it plays into the enterprise. What is the most important reason to have a unified interface? Now, Teva brought up a lot of points in his talk today, which actually resonates with what we are seeing today. In addition to the data breaches, he did talk about how there's been a cloud sprawl. There's a necessity for API integrations. There's a necessity for secure ingress and egress of data over trusted platforms and pathways. We recently saw a very major Indian banking organization have its customers' data leaked, although it was actually the fault of a subsidiary, but then the problem was it's the customer's brand name that's being affected. So all of these are the pain points that we are seeing in digital transformation today, and let's have these addressed. So with that, let me call upon today's panelists. To start with, may I call upon Hemant G. He's the co-founder and CTO of Lob. Hemant, would you join us on stage? A loud cheer for them. Let's change this. Thank you, Hemant. Coming up next is Anand Kumar. He's the co-founder of Skillate Laboratories Private Limited. Hemant, hi, welcome. We've got Upesh Jindal. He's the CTO of Fable. Upesh, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the discussion. We've got Rahul Sheshadri. He's the Director of Engineering at Dozy. Let's hear some cheer for these gentlemen. A little louder, please. Okay. Next up is Ritesh Ujjwal. He's the co-founder and the CEO of Confluence Tech Private Limited. Thanks for joining us, Ritesh. Welcome. Okay, up next is the man who's going to help us put it all into perspective. How he overcame the challenges at his organization, and what was his success stories, and what we can take away from that. So with that, let me call upon Rishabh Chhajar. He's the Executive Vice President of Dhani. And of course, the man who's going to be powering all of it, providing the platform and the technology and the brains behind it. With that, may I call upon Sunil Iyengar. He heads data analytics and AI sales at Google Cloud India. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, like we promised, the discussion is going to be, heavily interactive. All right. So we would want a lot of questions coming from you. We are going to distribute a mic around whenever you have a question. We're going to table those and then take them towards the end of the discussion. Well, to start with, let's hear from Hemant from Lob. Hemant, if you could tell us, to put it all into perspective, first things first, what is the necessity to build a unified platform considering the business needs that have arisen today?
So, first off, I want to say hi to everyone. I know you guys are sacrificing your weekend and you're here. I know how hard it is to be in an event on a Friday in Bangalore. So hi. So, see, when you say unified platform, sounds great, hybrid cloud sounds great, but there are a lot of challenges once you start scaling. Like now we are a 7-year-old startup. We've been scaling almost 700% in traffic in the last 1 year. So you get a lot of challenges in terms of how do you observe everything across multi-cloud. Yeah, multi-cloud sounds cool till you have to observe 600 microservices scale up to 8,000 VMs at peak, right? So that's where I believe you need to start thinking of it day one. That's where it becomes easier, but none of us do. So that's where you start looking at unified platforms, things where you can look at it at a single dashboard that adds its own complexity. Yeah, so that's how it goes for us.
Well, thanks for that. Let's now move to Anand. Anand, could you tell us, how important is the role of data in your organization? And, considering you're heavily banking on AI, what is the power of alternative sources of data? How are you collecting all of that and bringing it all together, crunching it, and making sense?
Sure. Hi, I'm Anand from Skillet. It's a AI recruitment platform. So I think recruitment, everybody goes through that cycle very well, right? So we collect, first of all, the data source for us is we integrate with SAP, Oracle, Workday ecosystem and collect the resumes and definitely the jobs, etc. But this data is super important for us because we try to analyze the hiring pattern of the organization, right? So we have a large source of around 120 million global profiles to understand the hiring pattern. And computing that at scale, definitely TensorFlow is there on the back end, but how we are doing it is extremely important. And analyzing the pattern and giving that personalization to the customers. So I was very happy to see the last presentation wherein out of 7-8 logos that were presented, 2 were our customers. So Wellness Forever and Mahindra, to name an example, right? So I think that kind of things make us feel proud being in this, definitely the platform as GCP, but at the same time, the kind of experience that we are giving it to the customer with a joint collaboration.
All right. Upesh, let's hear your take on it.
The same thing, right? Data?
Yes, please. What kind of role does data play in your organization?
Sure.
Is it any different from, the stories we have heard thus far?
Sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Upesh. I head the engineering team at Fable. And as the question lies about the data analytics, so primarily 2 use cases that we have. One is about the customer drop-off, where it happens. And second is creating the risk profile for the patients. So looking at various kinds of sensor data, heart monitor or BP monitor, that kind of things, and at scale. So millions of patients using your sensors which are generating, let's say, data points every minute or every second. So looking at the analytics at scale, that's what we're looking at. And that's where we used Google's BigQuery solution, which of course, like Deva pointed out, it's processing like billion queries per second. And that's the kind of business priority that we had for ourselves. And engineering was engineering was given a challenge to process that kind of data and give some kind of recommendation on the patient app. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are looking at for the data.
All right. That's an interesting point you brought up there. Yes, we've all heard the fact that, data is the life and soul. It's the next oil. We've heard that a number of times. But then what are the challenges that arise from trying to harness that power of data? So I would open it up to Rahul Sheshadri from Dozy. Rahul, what's your take on it? What challenges did you find at Dozy when you were trying to harness this full power of data?
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Rahul. I head engineering at Dozy. Just to give some context, we are a contactless monitoring platform for hospitals. And the whole job is to make sure that we warn the doctors soon enough so that we can save a patient's life, right? So there are 2 types of scalability that we can look at. Right? In the first category, you have predictions being done at a very large scale. You're doing it for a lot of people. So this is where you have ad tech, personalization, where some elementary amount of personalization is being done at scale. Whereas the second type, which is what we face here as a challenge, is you have considerably fewer amount of patients compared to normal users that you are predicting for, but the amount of historical data for each of them is pretty high, right? Because it's not just discrete markers that you're looking at. You're looking at time series data across parameters, and different kinds of data become important for different kinds of patients, and it is not known to us beforehand, right? And the cost of getting it wrong is very high. A person can lose his life. So this is the primary challenge that we face at Dozy,
Yep, absolutely. The stakes are really, really high out there. Well, Hemant, let's hear the story at Lob. So, Hemant, we have been talking about data, and the next topic that we would want to talk about is intelligent data management. Now, we know for a fact that, storing more amount of data is not only going to be a cost challenge, it's also going to be a security challenge. There are compliance norms also that are going to be borne in mind. So when it comes to intelligent data management, what are some of the things that you've tried at your firm? What have been some of the takeaways that you would want to share?
Okay. So let me give you a quick overview. So I'm the CTO of Lob. So we are a logistics company. We match truckers and transporters, and we are a pure matchmaking platform. So along with it, that's our transactions layer. We have a fintech layer too. So that's where a lot of compliance comes in. We have KYCs happening. So I mean, considering we're a profitable company, other than our profit, all the other money that moves through the platform moves automatically, which means without human intervention, I'm moving close, I mean, over 100 crores, just like that, without human intervention, 24/7. So for us, what happens is we have one level of user data. It has its own challenges because for us, it's not just tier 1 or metro cities. Our trucks move everywhere. I mean, we look at our dashboard, we look at a truck somewhere in Rajasthan, and the network is also sketchy. So you have different sources giving us data. We have telecom providers themselves giving us data, which is consent-based and all that. Then the next layer is the app that keeps throwing data to us. You have a truck broken down somewhere in the middle of the night, and you know exactly where it is, which police station to talk to, and all that. So with all these various kinds of data coming in, one of the first tools that we leveraged with Google was the data store. We initially started with Firestore and then graduated to data store. So that made it a lot of easy to ingest the data, quickly give some operational dashboard, and then we have it pushed into BigQuery, and we do all sorts of analysis from there. So that's what we did. We have other kinds of data that we get in terms of, we have banking partners, we have multiple levels of banking levels, right? Even if one bank or one provider fails, we have a failover so that if you don't pay money, the truck will not move. If the truck doesn't move in the night, in that window, he will not move for the day because trucks cannot, like we deal with large trucks, they cannot move during the day. They cannot move out of the city during the day. They can only travel in highways, right? So we lose the whole day. That's like a 10% change in freight. That's a huge impact. So for us, that's how critical it is for us. So that's where we have some of the transactional databases. We use Postgres quite a bit. Yeah.
Understood. So we realize, how important the stakes are out here. We've got one company that's going to lose a complete day, if the logistics are not sorted out, if the data integration is not proper, if the data feed is not all right. We've got one company out here, Dozy, where a customer could lose his life if the data is, incorrect. Let's get Fable into the question. So let me source this question to Upesh. So at this point, Upesh, if you could tell us what are the risks involved, what's at stake at your organization, and what is the necessity to build a strong data strategy? What are the things that you had in place even before you started building, AI models, etc.?
So what we see all over the world, primarily related to the regulations. HIPAA in North America, and then GDPR in Europe. I guess in India we are still not there, and it gets talked a lot in the organization and as well as with the partners. Customers also, like he also pointed out, you give consent, only then I will get the data, or even to produce this data to somebody for processing, even if it's anonymized. That's another challenge. So you have to get consent from the customer or from the user. Customer and user are two different profiles if you think about it. And then you have to get consent at both the levels. And when we are talking about intelligent data strategy or the future strategy which will proof your organization from a risk standpoint, of course, consent management, that's one. And secondly, partnering with a cloud partner who is compliant from an infrastructure standpoint with the regulations like HIPAA. So we use two cloud providers, AWS as well as Google. Okay. AWS is primarily for all the transactional data as well as for all the operations. And Google is primarily for BigQuery, like I talked about earlier, and of course Firebase. And The idea is we are still not into a complete multi-cloud strategy, but that's where the discussion is about securing the data transfer from cloud to cloud. And that has to be part of the data strategy, which still we are discussing. It's not there yet. So that's where we are.
All right. The moment you spoke about multi-cloud data strategy, I saw a lot of nods from everyone in this panel. So multi-cloud, of course, is going to be a big thing. It already is. We're going to see more of that coming in. So let me ask Ritesh. Ritesh, what is your take on multi-cloud? What's your vision for the future? How are you going to align your data strategy accordingly?
Right. So on that bit, first of all, a background. So I represent Confluence. It's an influencer marketing platform. And thereby, there's a lot of humongous amount of data, both structured and non-structured, which keeps on getting churned on a daily basis. We have close to 400K social media influencers. So it's safe to assume roughly at least one content on a daily basis or alternate day basis. So we are talking about 200K daily content. And within the content, we are talking about multiple layers because there's a text to it, there's an image to it, there's an audio to it. And because we are India focused, so imagine content in 25 or maybe 30 different languages, right? So how do you do the entire, how do we visualize? So on the data part, we do a lot of kind of processing in the sense, a bit of background on that. So traditionally, influencer marketing campaign used to take close to 3 weeks. With us, it's 3 hours. Now, how we've been able to do that is, first of all, as Hemant mentioned, about a matchmaking of the right creator to the right campaign requirement, and then also about the content review, that how do we generate the right set of attributes. Now, coming back to the original question about multi-cloud, I'll not say it was by design, frankly speaking. We are a 3-year young startup. So we went by AWS initially. But as we are going deeper into the layers of data, and we've been exploring various ML models. So recently we started trying with a Vertex ML. Okay. So that's kick-ass, I'll say, because our team, we were earlier using some GPUs from Amazon itself, and in 2 days flat, they've been able to adapt themselves to the Vertex AI, and now they are pretty much churning out really nice models. So on a multi-cloud strategy, I'll say, as a mature organization, it can be a risk diversification, okay, but can be also a cost optimization. Thanks to both of the giants, we get a lot of credits and stuff to experience them. And also it's about kind of extracting the best from the both of worlds, be it a transaction part or be it an analytical part.
Great points there. Really happy with the panel that we have out here. Now, these guys have established, carved out a niche for themselves even within this, startup space. You have one company that's trying to solve the problem of the diabetes, epidemic in India. It's everywhere. You've got one company in logistics that's trying to leverage AI, reach the next billion people. Another company out here that's actually not only using social media data, but then social influencers data. So, within these subcategories, we've got little niches. So that's really nice case studies that we are getting to hear. So now let me get you into the conversation. Now, to start with, if there are 3 concurrent themes that we are going to be looking at from a Google Cloud perspective, we have been looking at the imperatives of hyper availability. It's very important for these guys out here. Hyper sprawl, they're going multi-cloud, they're expanding, and of course, hyper growth. So could you tell us, how does the data platform, meet the requirements for each of these categories?
Thank you so much.
Sure, Sanat.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. As I think that gentleman said, it is great to have you on a Friday evening. I know we all could have been having beer elsewhere, but it's good that you're coming and listening to data, because I think it'll become more important than beer at some point in time. But look, Google Data Cloud products and services was built on the premise of what Google uses for search and YouTube, the same products. So from a hyper availability, hyper scale, the products were designed for that because they're all open standards as well. Okay, now we have, the lead of this is BigQuery. Now BigQuery is a petabyte scale data warehouse. I mean, just to give you an example, Candy Crush uses BigQuery. They did a public benchmark of 10 trillion rows. Okay, they processed, and it was processed in a few seconds. Okay, that was the benchmark which Candy Crush went at it. Because why BigQuery can do that? It is completely serverless. We don't need to spin up clusters. We don't need to allocate storages. The system itself has got compute, storage, and network within itself. That's one aspect of it. Second aspect of it is the fast and flexible ingestion and transformation. I mean, we do have solutions like PubSub and DataProc, which helps you to ingest quickly any form of data, batch, streaming, real time, near real time, any form of data. It will help you in, ingest and transform. And when PubSub, DataProc, and BigQuery, when they are in unison, I think what happens is magic. Your application's availability is so much more quicker because all of them work to the extent of being serverless and managed, right? Then third aspect is, how do we represent data? How do you consume? See, most of the time, you see, go across organizations, they do say that, look, I have all the data, these dashboards take so much time, they are slow. When I'm in an executive presentation, things are broken, I can't show it properly. So we do have something called as Looker. Looker comes in 3 different flavors. Looker Studio, which was earlier called Data Studio. It's rebranded into Looker Studio. Then you have Looker Studio Pro. Looker Studio is free, okay? Looker Studio Pro is the paid version of Looker Studio with add-on features, and then the Looker Enterprise. Okay, now this is a complete data platform which gives you the governance layer with its own modeling as well. So when I say governance layer, a marketing team's analysis of total profit versus a finance team's analysis versus a supply chain team analysis will all be the same because the data is governed at a central layer and Looker just fetches it from BigQuery and presents it. And the last is ML models. I mean, gentleman here mentioned about using Vertex, right? So there are 3 different ways how you can create machine learning models in GCP. One is BQML, which is BigQuery machine learning. You don't need any machine learning engineers. You don't need any ML skills. It is plain simple SQL where you can go ahead and create your models. Then you have AutoML, which is completely no-code ML where you can drag and drop and create models. And then you have custom models of Vertex ML where you go ahead and build your own ML models. So that's predominantly how GCP helps you to have your application available all time. At any location, at anywhere you want to access, your application will be there without even having to bother about where it is running and how it is running.
All right, thanks for that. Upesh, let's quickly, get into some of the challenges that you've experienced at your organization. So, when you were choosing, when you moved to the cloud and you started, putting your first workloads there, what were some of the biggest challenges when it came to, impeding the scale out for your organization? Could you throw some light on that?
So a little bit of background. I come from a time when there was no cloud. Literally, we used to actually have a physical machine, put it in a small data center, literally install the operating system and then save the data somewhere, and from there it will go to a tape drive, right? And suddenly you see ordering or some kind of data where you need the scale, and now you need everything. You need additional server as well as you need additional storage, etc., etc. And that was like 20 years back. So Cloud 1.0 came when we started using software as a service or infrastructure as a service, and that's where the first organization where I worked with, we picked up AWS, and the primary challenge that we faced there was, where do I store my data? Like there's so many types of storage which are available, block storage, EBS for if I talk about AWS, and then how do you even shift the older data? Okay. Because the cost keeps going up and up, and you have to optimize for the cost. So slowly you go from, let's say, most recent data, you don't need it because for some regulations you need the data for first 7 years. Right. After that, to reduce the cost, you have to move it somewhere else. And that's where cloud providers like AWS or GCP, I'm pretty sure that all of them have services like this, wherein you can put a policy around it saying, okay, if the data has aged beyond certain time limit, move it to a low cost storage. Of course, the downside of that is it takes time for it to come back. So if somebody is asking for that data, you cannot produce it real time, whereas other media of data storage, they can produce the data real time. And second thing is, of course, as I talked about earlier, consent management. If you don't have consent, or the second thing is personal PII, personally identifiable information. If you are storing it as is in plain format, as simple as a bank account number,
Right.
that becomes a challenge. So how do you do that? Because as many security features as AWS, GCP, or let's say Microsoft, they might provide, but at the application layer level itself, you have to build some sort of security measures. For example, encrypting the bank account number, or encrypting the social security number. In our case, in India's case, it may be a Aadhaar card number, right?
Right.
And it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. You have to keep on rotating, let's say, encryption keys. So if some key gets lost, then at least you have not compromised the entire database. So those kind of challenges, finding the kind of storage, finding the life cycle of data, and then thirdly, how do you store individual data elements, not just depending upon the cloud provider. Because every cloud provider may say, I am HIPAA compliant,
Right.
I am GDPR compliant, but the application itself is not.
Correct.
So
That's a very good point you brought up there. You have to think before you actually migrate to the cloud. We've seen a lot of instances of cloud repatriation or reverse cloud migration. The impact it can have on the capital spent on IT, etc. Let's get Anand into the conversation. Now, he kickstarted saying that his journey started with the cloud. They had his cloud 1.0 objectives. We are now talking about cloud 3.0 objectives. So if you could do a little crystal gazing with us. What's the next leg of your growth journey? What is your expectation from your vendor partner? How do you expect to grow?
I think today is the time wherein we are thinking of 100 different applications, 100 different systems talking to one another. And if we are not talking of scale along with multiple integration capability, which is definitely not possible without cloud, is something that I'll say in a nutshell.
Right. Now, we also, talking a lot about, building cloud native applications. And, especially in the space that all of you operate in, agility is a major factor. So could you tell us the story at Dozy? Did you encounter any kind of challenges when you were building cloud native applications?
Okay.
In an agile manner, which is also secure.
So I'll start with the backstory of how Dozy kind of came about. So the founders, Mudit and Gaurav, they used to work on race cars. And the way you measure the health of a race car is you have sensors in different parts of the body, and you get vibration data from it.
So race cars as in, for rallies and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
And when you combine all this vibration data and you analyze it, you kind of know whether something is going wrong or if everything's all right, right? And their question was, how do we take this idea and apply it to the human body? So Dozy is a contactless sensor that goes underneath your mattress, right? And then you have a mattress and then you lie down on top of it. So the sensor never touches you. And what goes in the sensor is all your bodily vibrations, even if you have a fan on, those vibrations kind of coming in. And this, signal in itself has no meaning unless we use machine learning to interpret it. And because of the volume of data there, it's not something that, you need a lot of computational power in the cloud to do it. And there is a lot of experimentation that needs to happen here, right? And initially the objective is never cost optimization. It never starts that way. What it starts with is, how many experiments can we run? And in our case, that to real time, because, there is no use for us to conduct an experiment long after the results are useful. And the other aspect of Dozy is connected health, right? It's not just about one bed, one patient there, but it's also about making not just a hospital in a region, but a hospital chain in the whole country operate centrally. So all the data coming in one place and we analyzing them and making sure that we raise the right alerts to the right people. So there, the major thing that comes in is storage. Because we collect a lot of data today which is not immediately meaningful. We don't even know whether they're going to be meaningful today or tomorrow, right? And the reason why we collect them is, again, we talked about consent. Medical data is not something that you can easily get.
Absolutely.
Right? So whenever you get it, you have to store it and store it very securely. And India is still in that journey where a lot of healthcare regulations will get solidified now, the coming time. It's always, everything else, then finance, then healthcare kind of coming in. So for us, our whole product runs on the cloud because that's where we can harness that amount of computational power on that volume of data. And what matters to us in terms of agility is also the flexibility of scaling up and down whenever we need.
Right.
So that's the main part of it. And because of the nature of our data, we are not yet able to leverage any of the standard stores, right? It's not a NoSQL database where it goes, or it's not a SQL database where it goes. These are highly unstructured data in proprietary formats, time series signals, right, that we have to process at scale. So doing it securely, doing it in a manner that is interoperable with not just hospitals, but also other public infrastructures that might come in India. Like, as people start having their own health IDs and connect data. So that's where, from a compute perspective and from running experiments at scale perspective, cloud has been a boon for us because we are able to also calculate blood pressure in a non-contact fashion. And all of these experiments could kind of come to fruition because we could run experiments at scale there.
Absolutely. Great points there. There was a great story there, in fact. Slightly unnerving about, something measuring vibrations and sounds while I sleep, but then you're saving lives. And I do get the point of data security given the nature of data that you're collecting. Let's, throw the question to Rishabh. Rishabh, what challenges did you face at Dhani when you were trying to build, cloud native applications in an agile way? You're again in a very competitive space.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. This is Rishabh, and I manage everything from cable to cloud at Dhani and Group. And Dhani was launched in 2017 to accommodate all the consumer businesses of Indiabulls under one brand name. We were operating as Indiabulls Venture Limited, and then we rebranded as Dhani.
Okay.
And recently we migrated our workload from other cloud providers to Google Cloud. And trust me, the journey was not that easy. There were a lot of roadblocks and challenges we faced. The biggest one was the complexity. It needs a lot of technical expertise and understanding of cloud computing, and our developers were not so familiar with the intricacies of cloud computing. And the another challenge which we faced is security. Building cloud native application demands good security posture because it is prone to security risks. But with the help of Persistent as a partner, we were able to overcome these challenges.
Okay.
The third challenge we faced on the scalability. Every single cloud native application demands, or it is expected to be scalable on demand. And with the help of Google Cloud native features like auto scaling, we were able to mitigate the risk. The fourth one was the culture. So building cloud native requires a lot of culture shift from on-premise to cloud basically. And it was not an easy because most of our developers are still with the orthodox and the traditional mindset. So this was a big transformation for us. And the last one was the cost. Our developers were cognizant enough to manage the cost efficiently, and we have guided them, please don't pay for what you don't use. Yeah.
That's very fair. And you brought up a very, a very pertinent fact, the topic about the human aspect of it. Even you can have all the tech you want, but then the human, approach toward it also needs to be adequately aligned. Correct.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, Sunil, if you could, throw a little more information for our audience here as well as for our panelists. Those are some of the challenges. Now, while you've entered the Indian marketplace at, a slightly later point of stage, Were those some of the challenges that were being cited by your other companies as well? What are some of the other challenges that were voiced, and how were you able to solve it for your customers?
Perfect. I mean, absolutely valid points. It takes time, right? I mean, when anybody moves from on-prem to cloud, or even from a different cloud to a different cloud, there is a learning curve, there is a change management, there is a adjustment period. I mean, it does take, and as I think Rishabh pointed it well, there is a cultural change also which needs to be deployed, right? Because suddenly, especially if you're in the on-prem world and you come here and you say, okay, let me just fire a few queries and see what happens. And if those queries go and access about 100 terabytes of BigQuery, and you would have a bill which would shock everybody. Okay, so you need a culture out there as well to know what you are doing. At the same time, there are best practices as well. I mean, you talk to us, you talk to Persistent, there are best practices which, you can have trails of queries, who's doing what, why they're doing, and stuffs like that, right? So it is difficult at one sense. There is an adjustment period, but it is inevitable. It needs to be done because applications, I'm pretty sure a couple of years down the lane, there would be many applications which would be moving cloud, and they would become cloud native. Whether it is on healthcare aspect, even they are, as he rightly said, the processing power, I don't think they could have ever gotten anywhere else apart from cloud. So, I mean, there is a challenge, but it is something which I guess it is both of us should learn how to manage it and put that effort to go ahead and address it. I mean, I do have a couple of other examples as well, which a very, very, very interesting example. I mean, I was talking to I manage the gaming industry in Google. So I was talking to a cricket gaming company, okay, the CEO of cricket gaming company. He had to go about a week later, he had to go for his seed investments, I think. Right. And one of the investor had asked him, look, I want to know how many players are churning from your platform. I mean, he did his back calculation and he thought, okay, only 20% people are leaving my platform. But he wanted to validate it with data. Mm-hmm. So he told us to come and make a study. So what we did is from his Firebase data, we put it to BigQuery, and we applied a BigQuery ML models. We used some k-means algorithms we used there. And we analyzed the data based on 300 attributes of a player. Okay? And it was so interesting that you get to know what we are as a country by that game. We are a batting obsessed nation. So the moment in that game, the person who's downloaded it does not get batting, he deletes the app. Or he does not use the app at all. He just leaves it over there. Okay, the moment he does not get a hat trick in the thing, he stops the game. So it is so much of, but when we went and we found out the churn, what he was thinking 20 was 47%. Okay, so when we went about telling him, so then he found out ways that he is acquiring customers paying money and they are being dormant and they are not being used. So what I'm trying to point here is, one is the aspect of moving a few challenges, but if you move and if you use it right, there are many other things which you can achieve. Of course, everything as it's takes its time and effort and a discipline for you to go ahead and achieve as well.
Well, that's a great point there, yeah. I mean, the cricket story and something that's coming out of data, something that we did not actually think about, that's really interesting. Now, all of you here, you've been, trying to build your tech stack within your company, okay? Innovation is one of the core themes for you guys. So, let me source this question to Hemant. So, Hemant, when it comes to, trying to innovate at your company versus the role of an IT or CIO traditionally, which has been to keep the lights on, which we've been hearing a lot of times. Now, has a unified platform, or do you think a unified platform can make all of this a lot easier, CIO operations a lot easier? How much time does it save? How does it ease your workflows?
So that's the expectation. I don't think we are there yet.
Okay.
But that's what we all hope and dream for, right? But when you say that, how complex is it, or how do you drive innovation, also keep the lights on? I think one beautiful thing that's come out of being cloud native, like when I started, it was, you wouldn't even, Google or Amazon wasn't the first thing you would go for. You would go set up, get something on Rackspace and run your app there, right? Going cloud native was sort of majburi for us. Because in the beginning, when we were thinking of so many experiments that you want to run, that's what startups do, right? Till you figure out what actually works, you're doing 100 experiments. You want to do it fast, you want to do it effectively,
Right.
and how do you do it with limited resources? Because you don't have infinite money. Some startups do, but we don't. We didn't when we did that. So that was the challenge. So that's where what I loved was the shared responsibility model that everyone's coming up with.
Right.
That's where I was like, hey, you know what? I don't need to worry about even the container or the dependencies. Let's just use the standard images. Go faster. Like to give you one use case, in sales, right? So initially when we were onboarding truckers are spread out everywhere. And the easiest way to find them is on highways. Now, if my field guys go on highways, they're all in a rush. They don't want to talk to you, and they're not the key stakeholders most of the time because owner is sitting somewhere else, right? And his address you will not know. He's probably a proprietor working out of his house. So how do you handle that? So what we did is we used AutoML for this. We would tell him, just click a picture of the truck and come. Because all national permit trucks have the address of the owner and everything written on the side. We would auto-extract it and goes to my call center, and my call center team just calls them up. Made it so much easier while I was spending pennies. So that's the sort of the approach that we took. Unified is still a long game. It's I think, another 3-4 years away.
But
at
definitely in the
least.
pipeline sometime.
Yeah.
All right. Rishabh, let's hear your story. You've been using for a unified platform for some time now. How has it enabled you to accelerate innovation and also meet your Cloud 3.0 objectives?
Okay. Cloud 3.0 is a term which refers to the next phase of cloud computing, and it also provides or offer organizations a single intelligent unified platform for managing your data, accessing your data, and just to give some more insights about the benefits or merits which we as an organization envisaged and received. First one is gainer the deeper insights. So by bringing together data from multiple sources into the one, it enables us for the faster decision making. Second one objective basically is for improvising the collaboration between the multiple teams and multiple departments and giving them a single pictorial presentation of the data, how it looks. And it also helps in breaking the silos and improvise the communication. Third benefit we received is enhanced agility. You will be faster to the market. Your response time will increase when you have the single view of data. And the fourth one is compliance, of course. It doesn't only take care of data privacy, but also looks after data access management with all regulatory norms. So these 4 or 5 benefits are really helpful, not only for people like us, but for the MIS reporting for the managements and executive board of directors as well.
That's a great point, Rishabh. Yeah, I've heard a lot of CIOs and CISOs also, bring about this fact. Especially when you're involved in a business that involves a lot of data, cross-border data transfers, etc. You've got different data localization mandates and compliance, etc. If there's something that can take care of that headache for you, I mean, that eases your work by a lot. So,
yeah, absolutely. So one day, Mr. Devi Shetty, who is the founder of Narayan Hospitals, told, we believe in God, but for everything else, we need data. Yeah. So we are following that footprints.
Absolutely, thanks for that. Sunil, could you share some of the other success stories, that you've got from not only the Indian companies here, but then from across the globe? In what ways have companies been able to use a unified platform and leverage AI and ML capabilities in a better manner?
Yeah. So look, when you look at data in most companies, apart from your app data and your business relevant data, what are the data sources? You have your ads data. Predominantly majority of them use Google Ads in one form or shape. You have your Play Store data. Payments data is not something which we will consider for a moment. You have your ads data, it could be Google Ads, you have your YouTube data, you have your Play Store data, you have your Facebook data. Now, what is happening in the world, cookies are going to go away, which means marketeers have to go ahead and understand their digital customers with less from what they get, which is only first-party data. Okay, when that needs to happen, they need to know more about their customer who comes and visits their portal or their app. So when you have all these data, which is your ads and other stuff, integrated and come into one place, like let's say a BigQuery for a minute, that's the easiest for me to talk about. When you come to BigQuery, and then what you could do, you could apply ML models over there for segmenting your customers for specific targeting, for segmenting, for building cohorts for recommendation, going ahead and analyzing churn, or going ahead and analyzing who could be from a visitor who could convert into a payer, who would subscribe and pay and come into my platform. All those models you can go ahead and build. I mean, we have so many customers, right? For example, we do have Fox TV, which is there in Australia, which does this beautifully well, where they integrate all sorts of data about cricket players, okay? And when they go ahead and when they visualize it on their app, so when a batsman comes, next to that, you'll have another split screen which says his statistics, how much did he do last year in the domestic season, what did he do outside Australia, what did he do inside Australia, all those things are there. So for you, if you're a cricket crazy guy, you will understand, okay, this guy probably is somebody whom I can go to Bet365 and bet on him. Okay, so, and that they can only do when they they know that customer from all aspects of it. So that is one sort of example which, comes to my mind at this point in time.
Yeah, and I think we've been seeing that on live TV as well. Compared to the 90s, the amount of data that you are able to see on your screen when there's a cricket match on, projections and, past performances, etc. Rishabh, I'd like to, jump back to you for the previous question. Now, as much as we hate to say it, we are a community that always asks, kitna deti hai. So, this entire setup of yours, what impact did it have on your total cost of ownership? Did it help you save any money or, cut down any time? If you could give us some numbers and figures out here, because these are techies, they love their numbers.
Yeah, so this collaboration between Google, Dhani, along with Persistent has substantially reduced our TCO tech cost by 40%. And there were a lot of intangible benefits which our development team has received, like they are using cloud native features like low code, no code, GKE clusters, infrastructure as code, which has significantly reduced the development time as well as the deployment time on the GCP platform. Apart from it, it has also improvised the collaboration as developer, testers, and other stakeholders are working on the common platform. And it reduced a lot of monitoring and maintenance activity. We have given that job to Google. Previously, we were having a lot of, in-house resident engineers who were doing 24/7 monitoring, but now Google is doing it for us. And the last one is, of course, the scalability, as I mentioned. A lot of cloud native features like serverless computing, microservices, so we are using those, and it has made our life more easier, and we are having a good sleep.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Good story there. Anybody else on this panel, who would want to talk about that TCO success stories? Because that is something that, a lot of our audience members would also be interested in.
I'll maybe add a point.
Sure.
Maybe enterprises who have not shifted to cloud yet, definitely it's going to save a lot. Primarily two reasons. And of course, these days we don't talk about shifting from CapEx to OpEx. It has already been done.
Right.
Now the question is about optimizing the OpEx. But for the enterprises who have not moved, it's still CapEx for them. So buying a server, going through the procurement process, that takes time, which means that go-to-market is slow. That adds to the cost. And second thing is decommissioning of the servers. So
Okay.
let's assume 3 months, the server has come down, it has spent its lifetime, and now you need to decommission. Even that is a process. And with cloud, you don't have to care about that. You just simply upgrade or downgrade your machine type and you move on. So that's how you can actually optimize on a TCO as well. And part of that is training.
Okay.
Training and human resources. Procurement is not, I have not seen a procurement personnel in my recent jobs these days. 20 years back, we used to have a IT procurement team who you would put a requisition to and say, I need this kind of server. It will take like a month. But now in a second, you can spin up a server and get your business up and running.
Great points. Sure. Go ahead.
So, with respect to cost, while going into the cloud, right? This happened to us initially. Till about, from 2017 till about 2020, our fintech, the overall cost for us was 2 cents a day. That was how much it was taking, simply because we were leveraging serverless, we were leveraging a lot of their free quotas, and the security and a lot of other things, half and half, right? Like, because it's the shared responsibility model, I'm responsible for my code and rest of it is their problem. So if you're thinking of moving or if you're about to start moving, just dump all your problems on them and let them figure it out, because they're eager and they will do half the job for you or more than half the job for you. And do not hesitate to ask for more credits.
That's a takeaway for you right there. So that's something that you'll have to take back to your company. All right. You want to add a few words?
I just want to add one point. Look, we recently, I was personally recently involved in doing a benchmarking study of BigQuery versus other data warehouses, right? And this is, again, I'm talking from a gaming industry. And gaming industry, if you understand, the sizes of data are anywhere between 400 to 800 terabytes of data. Okay, when we went ahead and did that benchmark, on a worst case, we are 30% cheaper. On a best case, we are about 55% cheaper. Okay, absolutely come and talk to us. We will help you. We will help you optimize. We will help design the architecture in such a way that it is effective, and probably it might convince you to move either from on-prem or move from other data warehouses if at all you're using it.
All right. Thanks for that, Sunil. With that, I would like to open it up to the audience. Audience members, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. We'll have somebody, give you a mic. Yeah, we have a question. We'll take that question. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so we talked only about data. Mainly BigQuery, yeah, it's a very performance-oriented. People who are using Redshift, normally it doesn't scale, so we need to move to BigQuery. But mine is more about the multi-cloud. Has anybody set up an active kind of setup, right from app, DB, caching, messaging, all those layers, active setup? Or persistent, have you got any clients who are on active kind of a setup?
I can have Persistent answer that question for you, but for now, on the panel, is there anyone who would want to take that? All right, well, we don't have Persistent on the system, so on the panel, so we'll probably have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, I'll share my experience.
Go
As
ahead.
we recently migrated from other cloud providers to GCP. we are still keeping some stock on the previous provider. Reason being just to understand the current modern architecture and the capabilities of GCP. How is it beneficial then over the other partners? But just for the sake of discussion, like we have contact center technology where we have application layer, database layer, report layer, and call server. Call server, you can't move to the cloud as per the DOT norms, but the other ones, we are keeping it as an active, and we have the tunneling setup between GCP and AWS, just to give it the name. And it is also the requirement of, as we are operating in the SEBI, we are into stocks. So SEBI has put a lot of regulatory norms that you should have the DR or basically the BCP for all your production servers, and we are in process of doing it and already in discussion with other solution providers. Yeah.
So we tried that. I mean, it is still work in progress for us. Our transactions layer, we've been trying to make it active on 2 different clouds. One of the key problems we ran into was data quality. There was, when you're tunneling between 2 clouds, it's going via the network layer, it's bound to have failures. So you got to be running things, auditing data on both sides, running data quality measures, finding a vendor for that. So we ran through all of this. It is still work in progress. I'm happy to share the learnings, what we're trying to do after the session for sure. Yeah.
I have one more question. So you talked about auto scaling, right? Serverless, Lambda and all auto scales, but those are, we cannot run every workload on serverless. Few of the, majority 90% will be running on microservices. If it is a linear traffic, scalability is not an issue. We can use HPA, VPA, a cluster autoscaler, it works. But if you guys have a bus traffic, without customers getting any errors at their end, how do you guys, anybody has implemented for sudden bus traffic? For example, Ola, 6 p.m. suddenly traffic increases, or at rain, whenever it rains, people start booking a lot of cabs. So for bus traffic, what is your scaling, auto scaling model?
So I'm ex-Ola, so I joined here recently. So I was working with Ola for 5 years before. And we were completely on Azure, Singapore region. And it took 2 years for us to migrate from AWS to Azure. And it was completely on the high availability mode with the auto scaling. We were keeping these features active. And but yes, the cost part is something which cannot be overlooked. And irrespective of 6 p.m. or 6 a.m., the model was designed in such a way that as soon as the traffic comes more, it will not fail over. It will just give you the seamless experience. And we have used all these functions of auto scaling on AWS and Azure.
So we sometimes run into this problem of peak workloads, right? So there are times where we do see a peak and this thing because there's unloading and loading during the day, and in the evening that's where we see a lot more data coming in. We do run into this problem because I have Postgres running on a cluster. It doesn't automatically auto-scale. I mean, there is a delay. There is about 5 to 15 minute delay. It's, throwing a dart, right? So what we do is, in such cases, if our CloudWatch alarm sounds hit, we have degradation of other queries. So what we do is we gracefully degrade some of the reporting tools, which I'm okay if it uses, 15-minute-old data. I'm perfectly fine with it. I just degrade all the other loads that are happening on that cluster and let this scale up till, things burst. And the other thing we did was we started trying to see if we can pipe through everything via API gateway and Lambdas, or even Google Cloud Function. If we could pipe through everything through there, just to initiate. I know not all workloads can happen through there, but if we could rethink the use case to use it a lot more. So we tried some of that, but gradual degradation is the easiest thing that my team could implement.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So if I understand your question correctly, you're talking about how to effectively handle burst traffic, right? And especially when you have a very big spike there. And I think it does not have an easy answer. Let's say you're serving 100 requests per second, and all of a sudden you get 1,000. Then, and the nature of your APIs are synchronous, then you have no other choice but to over provision most of the time, which means you spend a lot of money doing it. So if you see the recent trend, it's not just in ad tech or even healthcare or any of the CAP services that they use. The prime synchronous API never does most of the job, right? It usually posts it to some queue, which then takes over. And what you get is degraded service, but the KPI is you should not lose any request. The moment someone gets an error, that's lost business, right, for you. So it might just take a few seconds more, but it should not look like an error. So like the short answer is to keep your synchronous layer as lightweight as possible. And then do things asynchronously, which includes, which involves a lot more complexity of its own. But that's what it boils down to most of the time.
Just one quick point I want to add there about the over provisioning. So we did some kind of optimization there. You analyze your traffic throughout the day or over a period, and then you analyze that window, and just before, let's say 10 or 15 minutes before that, over provision, and then, yeah, exactly. That's just a workaround. But as you pointed out, it's not an easy problem to crack.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to achieve also, right? So generally, if you have burst traffic, it also depends on what's the nature of the traffic. So you can't just solve this as a generalized problem. Your website getting burst traffic is very different from, a specific, cab request coming in as burst traffic. There's always some some solution that you can apply, some cleverness that you can apply in splitting your workload. And it's always, the solution always looks very dirty initially because it's not as clean and theoretical as we see it in the textbooks, but that's the reality.
Well, in the interest of time, we are going to take one question here. Now we are also going to have a networking dinner after this. You can have your questions individually addressed. So I'll quickly go to the gentleman in black T-shirt here because he actually pointed out that first. So can we have your question? It would also help if you could direct it to a specific panelist here, or to anyone on this panel as well.
Yeah, probably I think there was a specific comment made by Hemant. It says that if you have some problems, really pass it on to the cloud service provider, they would want to solve it. I mean, I want to take a cue from there that I moved from my legacy systems, did a cloud transformation, adopted microservices, adopted GKE, BigQuery, things like that. What is the real need of going to Cloud 3.0 where I have to explore a combination of multiple cloud service providers? What is the real need? Because there is no compliance requirement as such. There is no real cost benefit which the user would get just because they're going to an alternate service provider. Probably.
If you cannot think of a reason to go multi-cloud, I mean, it may be a controversial opinion or an unpopular opinion, don't go multi-cloud. It's far easier to, do observability, far easier to do everything if you're on one platform. A lot of places what happens, it may not necessarily be compliance requirement. It may be more of, someone on your board is asking, or someone is saying, hey, how are you addressing this risk, which is an extreme edge case, like, oh, vendor lock-in is a risk, or things like that. If your board or your executive team or someone is, persistently asking this, then maybe try convincing them. If not, if you do see that, hey, you know what, I am going to grow to a scale where maybe one cloud is not going to be enough. Or like in our case, it was more of, hey, you know what, I love these products from Google, I love these products from AWS, and I also run, SQL Server on Azure because we built an app in 2015 and it still runs there. My customers literally pull their balance sheet out of that software. I'm not going to switch it off. I'm going to run it there because I love what they do, and it's definitely, I mean, everyone knows it's cheaper to run SQL Server on Microsoft Cloud. So do it only if it's a necessity. Avoid it till the last second. Yeah, that's what I would say.
So can we quickly get your take on it as well? You seem the second his opinion as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Only if it is necessary. Look, nobody. It is complex to have two clouds. If it is your business makes sense, or if your business needs it, and as he rightly said, most of the time when I speak, it is either an investor or a board member saying, why are you risking everything in one? You know, the days of multi-cloud, why don't we go there? They'll give you a little more credits, we can save more costs. Don't have to just do for that. If the business does not demand it, just stick to one cloud, it's okay.
Thanks for that. We'll quickly take the question coming from that gentleman there. Please go ahead, sir.
My question was related to how about non-consent data being used for personalization. Like when we are speaking, like I heard a lot of, I'm a digital marketer, so I hit people like let's say I'm searching, without searching, I'm speaking of phones or speaking of cycles, and then people come and say me that they are seeing those ads and those kind of posts on mobiles, and how about this non-consent data being used for personalization?
So the gentleman there was essentially talking about data being shared in a non-consensual manner. So a lot of the data that is being tracked at times is not consent based. So would anyone want to take that question here? Because I mean nowadays most of the platforms have an option for you to actually give your consent or completely reject it. So it's pretty much in the customer's hands. Yes, we tend to overlook it at times, but then let's hear what our panelists have to say. Please, go ahead.
First thing I would say is welcome to India. It is going to happen. I mean, there's no way to stop it. I'm sure all our personal data is there on some unsecure bucket. We can just go Shodan it tonight, right? It is completely possible. We've seen someone in our space very recently get hacked, and there's like 140 GB of user personal data. That's their PAN cards, Aadhaar, everything leaked on an insecure S3 bucket. So that's where, at least in today's date, or at least till DigiLocker and a lot of these things become more permeable, it is a risk. It is left to the, I think, CTOs, CIOs to make sure to bring that ethics and sense in the company. It's only going to happen then, or else it is always going to be this way. We got to accept it.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I cover cybersecurity for a living. As a cybersecurity journalist, I found my personal ID on haveibeenpawned.com. So yeah, it's probably going to happen. All right, with that, we are going to wind up the discussion. We are going to have more questions. You can definitely have your questions addressed to these gentlemen here during the networking and the dinner. All right. So again, gentlemen, let's hear a huge round of applause for these men here. I got to learn a lot from them. I hope you were able to benefit as much. Thanks again. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for all those insights. A lot of it were those candid comments that a lot of our audience also resonated with. So thanks again. Great comments there. Great inputs. All right. A quick group picture. Thank you. All right. In a minute, I'm going to be calling upon Sujata. She is from Google Workspace India. Now, a lot of the questions that you might have had will also be answered perhaps in her session. So give us a minute while we just wind this up and get ready for the next session. Let me quickly call upon our next speaker, Sujata Doshi. She's the Customer Engineering Lead for Google Workspace in India. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear a huge round of applause for her. Thanks so much for joining us, Sujata. Over to you.
Just to introduce myself once again, I'm Sujata Doshi, Customer Engineering Lead for Google Workspace for India. I worked with several organizations within India in their digital transformation journeys. Yeah, including Dhani. Absolutely. First, a quick show of hands. How many of you are already on Google Workspace? Wow, I love this audience. Thank you so much. So, and how many of you have seen the latest video on some of the most recent features that have been announced by Google Cloud on Google Workspace? Awesome. Nice show of hands again. But I quickly want to play that video here for you all. It's a 2-minute video, and I really believe all of you will like that. So let's quickly look at it. So I initially thought that the features were explosive, but looks like we made the video also quite explosive here. But how was the video? So it's AI everywhere. There was a time when I forgot my spellings after starting to use Docs and MS Word because there was spell check everywhere. But now I guess I'll forget even my sentence building because if you observe the video, all the sentences, even paragraphs, or even my entire storyline is built by AI now. So it's AI everywhere. With that said, what Google Workspace is looking at, and our motto is majorly to meaningfully connect people across organizations. We want to equip end users with the right tools to communicate and collaborate with one another. And that is when we want users to get things done together. And that's our major motto with which Google Workspace works on and builds features. Just to let you all know, we have built and released over 300 plus features in the last 12 months. And that's the pace at which we are innovating our features, innovating our products, so that every user enjoys their work and gets things done faster. Now, that said, first of all, Workspace is used by several of you here. And that was a proof through a show of hands as well. But we literally have customers in every industry. So I just wanted to call that out. But why Google Workspace? Again, it's all about communicating and collaborating with tools you like and tools you enjoy. All of you use Gmail on a personal basis. It's about using the same tools in your enterprises, in your work life, and getting things done faster. And it's not just one or two services, but it's a full suite of services that help every user communicate. Few other metrics that I wanted to just call upon. Most of the startups, unicorns, are growing up on Google. Your future workforce, all of the universities, colleges are growing up on Google. And that said, all the users would be familiar with the tools and they can quickly get onboarded. There's literally nothing you need to teach them to get started to use Workspace. And we literally look at how users can connect with one another, create content, and admins still have the control to have the right level of security in your organization. Now, many of you, once again, you use several of these tools. The previous panel spoke a lot about data, data, data. I'll continue that data because Google is a data organization and we are data driven and we want all of our customers also to be data driven. Because you can actually have the right metrics and take decisions in a data driven approach by using the right tools. And that is where Google editors play an important role through doc sheets and slides. All of the panelists also spoke about BigQuery. With Google Sheets, you can directly integrate with BigQuery, derive analytics, and meaningfully use content out of billions of rows on BigQuery. And that's the power that is provided to an end user to handle data and get things done. Now, once again, I wanted to speak about some other areas about what Google's Workspace is focusing on to help organizations in communication. First is openness and trust. The product itself makes everyone flexible. How many of you use Gmail on your mobile? Awesome. I can literally complete my presentations, meetings, everything on my mobile. So it's all about flexibility. It's all about getting things done on the go, which all of us are doing and practicing every single day. And that is where the openness and trust comes in, and we want users to be agile and flexible in their day-to-day work. Next one is AI. The video itself spoke a lot, but we are trying to bring in AI in literally every area. We built all the features on top of Gmail because we believe email plays an important and integral part of everyone's lives. And that said, we built all the services in a way that you can access all of it from the same interface. Because whether on a mobile or a laptop, you can actually access everything from the same app. And that's the whole idea about the integrated approach that we bring in. And finally, we want to bring in fun to all the users. That said, with documents, we've built a whole new smart canvas. With Google Docs, how many of you are now drafting emails on a Google Doc? Or how many of you draft meeting notes on a Google Doc? Quick show of hands. Awesome. And how do you do that? Using the @ function. With @ on Google Docs, you literally get options for several elements, and it can be timeline views on sheets, or date and time view, or even a place view on a sheet. You can literally do all of it on Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides with 100 people simultaneously communicating and collaborating on the same doc. Now, that's the power of collaboration that we want to talk about. And that too seamlessly from any device, anywhere. And which is what makes the platform all the more easy to use and intuitive for access. Access the same features irrespective of which device you're using. Laptop, desktop, mobile, you get the same experience. And finally, use it for future of work through fun. How many of you use captions on meetings? No one? Show of hands, please. That is surprising. I thought captions was the most cool feature. Time insights on calendars, language translation. You can convert a doc in just a few seconds from English to any language and vice versa. It is as seamless as you can see. Live captions in video meetings just help you follow meetings even when you're not on the audio literally, because it is real time and the accuracy level is really, really high. And that is what makes the power of Google Workspace with AI all the more powerful for the end users. And finally, Google Classroom. How many of you know that Classroom is part of Google Workspace? I'm glad to see it again. So you can literally use Classroom for all of your learning and development needs. I'm sure many of your kids also use classrooms, I mean, in their schooling and learning needs, but you can literally use the same tool for organizations as well. My daughter grew up on Classroom, and she keeps making fun, this feature doesn't exist, or that feature doesn't exist. So she keeps, like, she's a best critic from me, I would say, which I end up passing to my product team as well. But yeah, we are getting there. We continue to innovate and increase features on the platform. While all of this is from an end user standpoint, we want to ensure admins are not left out. We want to keep the admins also happy. And that is where all the security features come in, whether it is access security, identity security, data protection controls, classification controls, email security, whether it is anti-spam, malware, spoofing, all of it are built into the platform. How many of you know that VirusTotal is owned by Google? Show of hands. One. VirusTotal is the world's largest database from where all malware, spam signatures are captured by every other email gateway. VirusTotal is owned by Google. And it plays as a backend security for all of your email. So you can be rest assured that you have complete, perfect email security. And that's coming by default with Google Workspace to each one of you. Just want to provide you that assurance as to how Workspace keeps an organization secure while providing all the features. Other than that, Workspace is all about keeping end users happy, organizations happy, and that is where we want to build more innovative organizations, and you can see that through the metrics on the screen here. So what is Google Workspace benefiting you as an organization? We want to bring a true cloud approach to organizations. So without literally anything to install, one of the shortcut key I'm sure many of you would miss on Google Workspace is a Control S. You never save anything. Any character you type is automatically saved. So the cloud nativeness is what makes the platform different. And platform is already familiar with the users, which makes it minimum learning curve for end users. It helps improve productivity, several users collaborating, communicating same time. So it brings that openness in the culture. And that is where every person feels more valued. Search plays an integral part. You can quickly look up for information. And with the video I just played earlier, you can now search and ask questions to create documents as well. So search plays a very, very important role going forward as well. And finally, a secure environment which everyone and anyone can use. And that's our main goal. So that's it. I won't keep you away from the food. There are several areas where Workspace is different, whether it is bandwidth usage, whether it is resource utilization, type of device flexibility you have, or even the cluttered desktop, which I used to have earlier and not anymore. So I'll quickly take a pause. Any questions? And very soon, we are going to take early access customers in the next 2 weeks, but very soon. We are yet to get more details around it. We'll share more details in the coming weeks. The video just launched like literally 2 days back. Any other questions? Awesome. So keep using Workspace, and that's when AppSheet also helps you to extend through a no-code environment. Just 30 more seconds, guys. AppSheet is a no-code platform, helps you to build apps, workflows, automations for your users. Whether it is health screening apps, attendance tracking apps, project management apps, anything can be built literally on AppSheet. Several of our customers are now building very complex workflows on AppSheet as well. So we want you to explore it. Just look at all the templates, test it out, try it out if they may fit your needs, and then get started with AppSheet. Simple to access, appsheet.com, and build apps fitting any type of device, whether it's mobile, desktop, laptop, at the same time without any development or code, because it's an absolute no-code platform. And secure it through how you are putting the right controls, irrespective of which device users are connecting from. So there are also SAP integrations within GCP. How many of you, I'm sure many of you use SAP. There are built-in integrations for Sheets integration to access the data and provide necessary analytics out of it. That's it. I come to an end, and I'll not keep you waiting anymore. Open for any questions you have. One last question, maybe. Yeah. Yes. We have built-in DLP with OCR. So we literally analyze text on an image also and restrict it from going out. DLP also covers email, drive, and chat. So you're not just looking at email, but all other aspects, including automatic classification. So based on built-in templates, we perform DLPs. You can also do custom DLP options and built-in within the platform. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Sujata, I would request you to be on stage. That was Sujata Dusi for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give her a huge round of applause. It was a great presentation. Thanks so much for that. I enjoyed it. Sometime in the future, I would love to see a conversation between ChatGPT and Bard. All right. Now, with that, let me quickly call upon Sunil and Teva again on stage, and our panelists as well, please. We have a small giveaway for all our panelists. Can I welcome them on stage again, please? It's just 9:05 p.m. Let's hear some applause, ladies and gentlemen, please. All right. So my call upon Sujata, if you could, distribute the first two gifts to our panelists, please. Sure. Let's hear some applause, please. Thank you so much for joining us today. Great points shared by you. All right. Teva, could you do the honors, please, for our next two panelists? Thank you so much for that. Sunil, may I call upon you? Go ahead, please. Thanks again. Great points. These are budding companies. They need your encouragement. Come on. They've witnessed success, and we wish them all the best for the future. Thanks again. Thanks. A round of applause to all our panelists and all our speakers here. Great session today.